Hey, what's up, mortals? It is I, TheSilentSheepdog, here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 6 of What If Izuku was the host of the Blacklight virus. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back, relax, you're in for a treat. And so, we begin.
Are you out of your goddamn mind, Nezu?
Yelled an angered man as he slammed his palms against the educator. The wood split from impact, causing it to crumble down to the ground. The white-furred principal sat in his chair, unfazed by the ordeal, his paws clasped together as if still deep in thought. Capture tape then suddenly shot towards the muscular man, restraining him momentarily.
I'm just as pissed off as you are, Toshinori, but you need to cool it,
growled Aizawa as he clenched his scarf tightly in his hands, his eyes flashing as his quirk was triggered, causing the symbol of peace to deflate, returning to his skeletal form. Leaning against the wall was Vlad King, who seemed to share in the angered demeanor between the two teachers. All the while, Midnight and the other members of the faculty seemed more worried than anything else.
You allowed this boy who carries the bloody virus in his body into UA, and you decided to keep this a secret? You put everyone here in danger. The faculty, the students, everyone! Shouted the #1 hero as he grit his teeth aggressively, showing a dark side that had not yet been experienced by any of the heroes present. The bear-like mouse remained silent as he ran through various plans and strategies within his incredibly intelligent mind, though the silence was simply irritating the subdued blonde. Far off within the city, a quarantine area had been prepared around a heavily damaged bar. Small blobs of viral residue pulsated around the building that seemed to have been savagely destroyed from the inside out. Detective Tsukachi stood by as he observed the fire squad setting the entire building ablaze. This is unusual. It's as if one infected appeared from the inside and attacked, but no bodies. Just blood and destruction. But in addition to this, we have new growths? As if they just spawned here. This isn't even a part of the hot zone, thought the detective as he held his camera in his hands, swiping through various pictures of the crime scene. Sprayed blood on the walls and furniture, broken glass, but no bodies to speak of. This crime scene was none like before, but due to the signs of growing viral material, it needed to be set aflame before it could spread. The night prior, dozens of villains lay dead around the bar, while Midoriya held an armless Tomura Shigaraki by his throat and lifted him in the air. The white-haired man spat at the face of the boy, who seemed to completely ignore the saliva that now streamed down his face. After consuming your partner, I've had my eyes opened, Shigaraki. Or should I call you Tenko?
Flashbacks of the villain's former life returned to his consciousness, but only for a moment as his pain emanating from his severed arms brought him to attention. The current situation reflected that of the death of the hero 13, who had faced her final moments, with missing limbs and a shattered throat.
There is still missing information from that husk of a servant. I believe after consuming you, my past will be revealed. And so will my future.
The grip on Shigaraki's throat suddenly tightened as his wild eyes began to scatter before they became lifeless as his windpipe was crushed. A black matter began to grow through the body of the perished villain as his body became pure biomatter and was absorbed into the green-haired boy. A flood of memories began flashing through his mind. Violent thoughts and horrific pain began overwhelming the teen, which sent him to his knees. Grasping his skull, the boy belted out a loud scream that echoed through the empty bar. After mere seconds, Midoriya grew quiet, as a wicked smile formed on his face as the ends of his mouth curled tightly. Getting to his feet slowly, the boy began to chuckle under his breath as his eyes glowed a bright red. Waving his hand slowly, a shadow portal appeared before him, and when he stepped through, he appeared within an apartment within a large building that resembled a hospital within the city. The greenette scanned the room, his eyes glowing bright, giving the entire room a shade of red. As he looked around, he found that the room was empty, and that the good doctor was nowhere to be seen. Closing his eyes, Midoriya focused on enhancing his hearing, and the sounds of many footsteps and several hundreds of conversations being drowned out until finding their target. On the roof of the building, Dr. Garaki held a phone to his ear, having a rather stressful conversation with a deep-voiced man. Pacing back and forth through the space, the man seemed to sweat profusely from the apparent derailment of plans that had been set in motion.
I don't know how this could happen, all for one. The boy was controlled. He shouldn't have been there during the attack. No, Yes, sir, but... He killed Shigaraki? Oh, no.
A shadow rift then opened behind the good doctor, and through the gate walked out the green-haired boy that carried a sadistic grin on his face. Hearing light footsteps behind him, the doctor immediately jumped, and the phone slipped from his hands over the edge. Turning to face the boy, the doctor began to breathe heavily as he took a few steps back to maintain his distance.
Mr. Midoriya, what a pleasant surprise!
Good doctor. I've learned a great many things in the past few hours, but it seems you're connected to all of it. You care to explain yourself? The greenette took a step forward as his fingers turned to blades and began scratching the edge of the building. The sound of carved steel caused a high-pitched screech which caused the mustachioed man to wince in pain. Gulping audibly, the man gripped the ledge tightly, attempting to steady himself, but to his detriment, his entire body shook, demonstrating obvious fear.
Whatever do you mean, my boy?
I consumed your pet project, Doctor. Shirakumo and Tenko. Those lost souls. You and your master turned them into weapons. But still, why did the Hero Commission appoint you to my case? Was I to become another weapon? Another Nomu? The portly man attempted to speak, but the words of the boy stung as he began to look around the rooftop frantically. When the man finally locked onto the teen again, his form had changed into that of Tomura Shigaraki, and then shifted into that of the original human form of Kurogiri before returning to his normal form. I've learned many tricks, Doctor. Clearly, you won't tell me what I need to know, so I'll have to take it. In the blink of an eye, Midoriya held the doctor by his throat over the ledge. The doctor grabbed hold of the boy's wrist, attempting to keep himself up, but the stress on his throat was weakening him by the second. During the grab, the doctor's large goggles had fallen, and for the first time, the man looked into the diabolic eyes of Patient Zero. In that moment, a large wet spot formed on the doctor's pants, which was followed by a stream of urine that flowed down his leg and down towards the city. Thank you for your time, good doctor, but your services will no longer be required. Please enjoy your retirement. His fingers grew sharp as they suddenly plunged themselves into his flesh, grabbing hold of the man's spine. A spray of blood covered the teen as the doctor's body began to be absorbed into the boy. The process was slow, as the oxygen began leaving the man's brain. He could not move or speak until his consciousness truly left him. His eyes were locked into a red void that never faltered. Stepping off the ledge, the doctor's body had been integrated into Midoriya's. A shot of pain flowed through the teen's mind as he fell to his knees. The various memories, skills, and knowledge carried by the portly doctor began to amalgamate with his own until they were one and the same. Eyes widening, The teen finally garnered the information he sought. He knew the reason he was being groomed, and one more thing was brought to his attention.
All for one. One for all. Yes. This is a delightful surprise.
As the neurons connected and his knowledge was expanded, the boy went into hysterical laughter that seemed to echo into the distance. The booming nature of the boy's voice caused security to react as they heard the reverberations down the stairway. 2 armed guards rushing upwards only to see a pale-skinned boy, sprayed in blood. The men aimed their pistols toward the boy and shouted orders at the teen, only to be ignored. From beneath Midoriya, black biomass began expanding around him, until from the blobs of material rose 2 4-legged monstrosities that launched at the men, tearing into their throats. The black mass began to spread, as its vein-like tentacles began to crawl down the staircase before the teen opened another warp gate and made his exit. The security guards' bodies began to convulse violently until they themselves mutated into grotesque creatures that proceeded to rush into the building, leaving a trail of death and destruction in their wake. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and hackers could exploit you. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy. In addition to providing you with safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services. Are you tired of going through 2, 3, or even 4 streaming services to watch your favorite anime? Well, with NordVPN, you can change your country and be able to binge shows like My Hero Academia, Naruto, and many others on your favorite streaming services with just the press of a button. Check out the link in the description to get 72% off when buying for 2 years, $3.29 a month. This deal is for a limited time. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Far off within the hero agency of Sir Nighteye sat the bespectacled man filling out much paperwork. His eyes seemed sunk in with dark bags beneath them, showing a lack of sleep that rivaled that of Aizawa. The man seemed to tremble as he grabbed hold of a mug of coffee, that nearly spilled on occasion as he brought it to his mouth. "Sir, I'm taking off for the day. Anything you need me to do before I head off?" asked a muscular blonde teen as he walked through the doorframe, his gleeful expression contrasting greatly with that of his mentor. The green-haired man set down his mug and gestured to the teen to approach but refrained from speech. The boy awkwardly approached the man, and once in his reach, the well-suited man grabbed his forearm and triggered his quirk. His pupils shifted to purple as he searched into the future of the young man before him. Large black tendrils began to destroy buildings as spikes of biomatter ripped through the ground by the docks. Dozens of heroes seemed to be in a final stand as an army of infected pressed forward, attempting to reach 2 boys that were being forced onto a boat. Mirio phased through the infected tendrils that attempted to snatch him at the first chance they got, but in the distance he could see a young man with a large blade sunken into the chest of the symbol of peace. "All Might!" shouted the vision of Mirio as he reached out for his idol, before catching the gaze of a young man who in a split second had 7 sharp blades of biomatter pierce his body all at once, ending his life. The vision was cut short in that instance, as Sir Nighteye fell off his chair and onto his knees. The blond boy quickly attempted to catch his mentor, but was met by paranoid murmurs.
3 months. That's all we have. All Might. I need to find All Might. Mirio, I need...
The trauma from the vision caused the man's remaining energy to deplete as he collapsed. The teen shouted loudly for assistance as other sidekicks entered the room, responding to the call. The following day, Sir Nighteye awoke to the blinding light of a hospital building with his teen sidekick sitting next to him. Quickly sitting up, The man frantically scanned the room before looking out into the city, seeing it was in a relatively normal state, which helped ease his tension.
Sir, please, don't strain yourself. You collapsed, and... Enough, Mirio. I'm fine. I need to contact All Might. It's imperative that I speak to him. But, sir... Now, Mirio!
Sighing in defeat, the cheerful teen walked over to the belongings of the pro-hero and found his phone. Passing it to the man, he quickly rushed through his contacts until he found the number of his former partner. Pressing the phone to his ear, he allowed it to ring until a finally familiar voice reached through.
All Might, we have a problem. You're telling me? Could you call at a better time? All Might, if I'm not wrong, you should be in UA, correct? I'll be seeing you there within the hour.
Before the hero of peace could muster a response, the line was disconnected as the lackey man removed the lines attached to his skin forcefully. Much to the dismay of Mirio and the nurses that began walking into the hospital room, the man quickly dressed and made his abrupt exit from the building, ignoring the orders from the doctors and dodging the guards that attempted to stop him. Mirio followed close behind, apologizing for his mentor as the two left the building, causing a great commotion. Exactly an hour on the dot, at the entrance of UA stood Sir Nighteye and Mirio, who seemed incredibly troubled. The pro-hero hadn't uttered a single word towards his apprentice on the entire way to school, which caused him great distress. What did his master see to cause such a shift in mood? It had to be bad for things to progress as they had. After passing by the bioscanners and rushing through security, Sir Nighteye shoved open the door to the teacher's lounge. The door slammed against the wall behind it, startling the few instructors in the room, all but the symbol of peace.
Sasaki, it's been a while. What could be so important to summon you to UA? We need the room. Everyone, get out. That includes you, Mirio.
The man's intense glare and commanding voice silenced the room immediately, but after a few seconds of silence, the instructors left the room. Mirio attempted to argue to stay, but after meeting the glare of his mentor, he hung his head and exited as well. Once the only two individuals in the room were the two former partners, All Might quickly deflated into his skeletal form and coughed up blood. Wiping off the life liquid from his face, the sunken eyes of the #1 hero locked onto his former sidekicks.
All right, you have my attention. What happened? I saw the end, the final stand. I saw you die.
The two men stood across from each other, their expressions serious and cold, though the announcement of his death seemed to barely faze the hero. Believing this to be another ploy to request his retirement, All Might attempted to lighten the mood with his normally enticing words, but he was rudely cut off.
It's different this time. All Might, you need to choose the inheritor of All for One. We have 3 months before it's all over and his power reaches its apex.
Who do you mean? All for One? He's dead, isn't he?
No, it's the virus. It has a host. I saw a boy, a boy with green hair. He will bring upon the destruction of Japan.
The description caused All Might's eyes to widen as his heart began to race rapidly, remembering the attack at the USJ, the overwhelming power from the young man, and the briefing shortly after at the school. Sweat began running down his face. As the air became tense, it seemed his fears had come to fruition, and there was little time to prepare.
I saw 2 boys in that battlefield, a spiky-haired blonde, and a boy with red and white hair. They should be in the school, correct?
The deflated hero nodded silently, instantly recognizing the descriptions of the 2 boys mentioned had already been possible candidates to become his successor, though he no longer had the benefit of time on his side. Interlacing his fingers, All Might sighed heavily as he stood and began walking out of the room, gesturing for Sir Nighteye to follow. Back at the student dorms, Bakugo was letting out his aggression by training on his own in an open field. Small explosions were ignited with every strike to the air, but the thought of his missing, newly resurrected childhood friend/victim just caused him to become more aggravated. After a rather violent impact of one of his explosions, the boy seemed to give in to exhaustion as he fell to his knees, sweating profusely. With his remaining energy, the boy began punching the ground as his reactive sweat began to drip down through his hair and down the side of his face. His knuckles now bruised from the hits, the ashen blonde remained silent, as even his closest friend, Kirishima, decided it best to leave him alone to his own devices.
You died, came back, and left. Just like that, huh? You bastard. What about your parents? What about me, huh? Shouted the boy as his eyes began dampening. But before the tears could fall, he quickly wiped his face to avoid breaking down further. The slider doors opened, causing the explosive teen to flinch, but to his dismay, the person who appeared was Shoto Todoroki, the hero prodigy of Class 1A. You better get the hell away from me, you icy hot bastard! Or what? You planning on blowing me up? We both know that you're burnt out. Look, you've been hiding in your room almost the entire time we've been living at these dorms after that boy showed up. You've been more unhinged than normal. It's not a good look. So what? You don't know a thing about me! Spat the brazen blonde as he forced himself onto his feet and lunged towards the teen before hitting an ice wall, face first, that was instantly created by his classmate. The altercation garnered the attention of the members of Class 1A as they began flooding out of the dorms. Two of the class's powerhouses began to try and hold back the teens as Kirishima tried talking down Bakugo and Sato placed his hand on Shoto's shoulder to attempt to reason with the teen. What the hell is going on here? Asked the tired voice of Aizawa, who had caught the almost fight at its apex. The man's eyes began to glow red as his hair began to stand on end. Bakugo angrily attempted to walk away from the situation but was stopped by capture tape that wrapped around his left arm. What did I say about fighting? We'll deal with this later. Unrelated to this idiotic fight, you two, Principal Nezu's office, now! While Todoroki bowed towards his homeroom teacher and walked towards the main building of the school, Bakugo, on the other hand, attempted to ignore the orders given to him. This was followed up by the eraser hero wrapping him up completely in capture tape and throwing him over his shoulder. What the hell do you think you're doing? Let me go! God damn it! Ah! Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right here below in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects that our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I would like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so goodbye, and have a divine day.